Welcome to my voiceover world.
Yep. How you doing?
Hey,
Good. Nice to
hey,
meet you, Sebastian.
how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Um, I'm doing great. Uh,
Awesome.
Thanks for willing to do this, Tim.
You're welcome. You're welcome. How's everything in Florida today?
Well, everything's been turning well. Just
Good.
just working things out with my college stuff and something
Okay.
like that.
Nice. Where do you go to school?
Santa Fe College.
Santa Fe College. Great. Awesome. What are you studying?
I'm studying to get myself into intro theater and digital video media production for
Awesome.
the sake of my goal of becoming a voice actor like everyone else, which I am right now. It's just
Great.
the only thing I have to do is just find auditions and just get myself
Yep.
out there.
That's great. Awesome.
Indeed.
Mhm.
You know, I've been wanting to say this to you, but
Yep.
I've been getting to know a lot about you because of the show One Punch Man,
Oh,
which
great.
that show right there, it
Yeah.
was the very reason why I've discovered anime and why
Oh,
I
that's great.
discovered everybody, including you.
Oh,
And
that's
the
awesome.
best part is, I
Yeah.
actually made a video for you on my YouTube channel involving characters and voice actors of the
Oh, that's
show,
awesome.
and I included you in there for the sake of you being recognized.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
That is what I do, just
Great.
like everybody else for 4 years.
That's great. Awesome.
But
Awesome.
without
Awesome.
further ado,
Yeah.
I got many questions I've been wanting to ask you.
All right. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So, you've been part of so many incredible projects. So, what's it like being in those many projects you've been part of?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I really like about that, what's really cool about those is all of the different variety of people you get to work with and all the different kind of stories you get to tell and all the different characters you get to inhabit. They're all different, which always makes it always really fun.
That's very interesting to hear from
Yeah,
you, which
yeah.
leads me to the most important question. What really inspired you to pursue voice acting, and what was the best decision that you made so far that has excelled into your career? For what purpose?
That's a great question. I started when I was in college, so when I was about 22 or 23 or so, I started studying when I was in college back in 1996. And I came from theater. My background is in theater, so I worked in theater and music. And so I kind of had that acting background. And I was somebody just one day said, "You have a great voice. You should try a voiceover." And so I tried it, and I failed at it for a long time. I wasn't good at it. I struggled. I had to study. I had to train. I had to work really, really hard. And I actually quit for a long time. I didn't actually start again until about 2014. I decided to get back into voiceover. And for me, the best decision that I made was choosing to go to a voiceover conference that I had never been to and meeting other people who were voice actors as well, who were struggling the same way that I was. So for me, it was meeting other people in the industry. That was the best decision that I ever made.
Interesting. So that's how you got into voice acting,
Yep.
because
Yep.
of
Yep.
that. But it's so funny how you end up saying that you go to college in 22, which I am 22 when I
Yeah.
got
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yep.
got there. And
Exactly.
and
Perfect timing, man.
the
Yeah.
best part is I was gonna ask you about if you ever have rejections, but you ended up taking those words out and you just end up telling me that you've been rejected and you
Yep.
quit it until 2014. You got back right up there. And I'm
Yep.
glad
Absolutely.
you say that.
Thank you. Yeah. It's a part of this. Is like rejection is it's not even if you don't think about it as rejection, it's just something you can learn from every time. And a lot of times you're not rejected. They've just chosen somebody else. They haven't necessarily rejected you, and that's kind of a hard thing to kind of navigate in the industry and kind of to understand is that you're not always rejected. Most of the time, you're just not selected.
That's the most interesting thing I'm beginning to hear from you.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and that's right here is something that I'm doing.
yeah,
Even I've because the website Casting Call Clubs, I've been
mhm,
using that a lot to get myself into a real audition. And
yeah,
even if my roles get dismissed, I still haven't give up and still
yeah.
got a long way to go to get into a real project yet to come.
Absolutely. Just keep doing it and keep trying and keep going. Yeah,
Thank you, Tim.
yeah.
And
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
And and that's why. Oh, this question I've been wanting
yep.
to ask this to you, but what What led to the creation of the National Association of Voice Acting, and how is it that you became the president of it?
That is a great question. You have a lot of great questions here. I appreciate this. It's kind of a long question too, so I'll try and keep it concise. It grew out of the groups that I had in California, in Los Angeles here. I had a group called the Gardner Collective, and Karin Gilfrey, who was our vice president, started a group in New York called the Voice Actors of NYC. And during COVID, we were donating money to members of our groups, and a lot of that money we would gather up money and give it out to members of our groups, and that was going through our own personal account. So the real basis of that was for us to try and get a nonprofit that we didn't have to have all of that money going through our personal accounts. And then from there, we then transitioned into this idea of offering healthcare for voice actors. And so when we launched, the idea was to be able to offer donations and healthcare for voice actors in the United States. And I'm president because I founded it. So I'm Karin Gilfrey, who's our vice president. She and I co-founded it, and so I'm the president and she's the vice president.
That's very interesting to hear from you. I just wanted to make sure so that just in case if I needed some knowledge to just understand it. Well then, without further ado, I got the questions about your characters, but
Great.
do you remember your first ever audition that you've gotten into, like your first character? And what was the experience like?
That is a great question. My very specifically like an anime character.
More
Um,
like a first ever audition,
well,
like
first ever audition. That is great. My first ever audition was I honestly don't remember. It was a long, 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 long time ago. That is a great question. I did a lot of what one of one of the first ones I did. I'll talk about when I got to Los Angeles in 2002. One of the first ones I did was for a company that did CD-ROMs. So back in the day, you had to get, if you wanted instructions for a website, you had to get it on a CD, and they would mail you the instructions on how to work through like a website or how to work through an app or something like that on the internet. And so there was a company that did those CD-ROMs, and I auditioned for one of those, and I booked. I didn't book the first audition, but I booked one of those jobs, which was kind of cool. And then as far as like anime goes, Hunter x Hunter was actually the first one of the first auditions that I ever did, and I booked Teses Guerra on Hunter x Hunter, and that was one of my actually very that was my very first anime job and one of my very first auditions that I had done for anime, which is pretty
interesting.
cool. Yeah,
So that was your first ever audition. I
yeah,
just wanted to make sure so that, like many others that I've done, gain absolute knowledge to just do a voice showcase in chronological order
absolutely. That's great.
so that I can put it to my YouTube channel and well, show it to you just in case to give
Great.
you the
That's great.
recognition you deserve, like
I
everyone
appreciate
else.
that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's always what I do. But speaking of Hunter x Hunter,
Yeah.
how does it feel about stepping into the role of Tisagurara in Hunter x Hunter? What do you love most about voicing him?
That was a great character. It was my introduction to the anime world. I From the acting side, I knew a little bit about anime from from the fan side of things, but from the acting side, it was really my first opportunity to play a character in a large show like that. Um, and it was a really cool character because he was kind of a teacher. He's kind of a guide, a military guide, an instructor, which is very much my own personal background. I spent a lot of time teaching, and so before I was in voiceover, I came out of music education. So I spent a lot of time teaching and working with kids. So it was very much kind of a character that was more military than my personal background, but was still very much kind of an instructor and a teacher in the way that I was in real life.
That's very interesting to hear from you. All I know is that I got to watch Hunter x Hunter and that
Yep.
you being a part of it was a very genius move to be
Great.
part of. Plus, Tony Oliver directing you was
Yep.
the best choice he has ever done, and he's the reason why you got yourself more into projects, which honestly, you
Yeah.
deserve to be in more projects that are yet
Great.
to come. That
Thank
way,
you so much.
with
Yeah.
with more voice acting work comes greater opportunities for your new characters to eventually come.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Now then, playing Bruiser in Trials of Mana must
Mhm.
be so exciting, right? So, what was your most favorite aspect about bringing that character into the game?
Whew. That is a great question. That was probably, the part of that, at least my favorite part of that project, at least, was the opportunity to work with some new people that I hadn't had a chance to work with before, and to kind of become a part of that world. It was a really cool, it was a great cast. It was a bunch of my friends. We all kind of got cast in that project around the same time. So just being able to be a part of that world with my friends was a really great part of that aspect of that project.
Well, that's good to hear from you. All I know is that I got to know about Trials of Mana right there, and
Mm,
plus doing including one of Brad's characters into from the
yep.
game was just unique. It took me a lot of effort to find it right there.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And but the best part is I got to meet Michael Scott himself, who was involved into the
Mm,
game. Michael
yeah.
Scott Action, I mean,
Yep.
which
Michael
his name
Scott's
on
great.
behind the voice actors website should be Michael Scott Action
Yeah.
instead of Michael Scott, because otherwise it'll have people confused. So
Yep.
yeah, that's something I want to tell you there. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
being part of it, genius move ever. And whoever brought you there did a good job doing
Yeah. We'll let
you
them.
in.
I'm sure they'll hear that. We'll let them know.
Oh yes, definitely. In Assail World Infinite Burst, what
Mm.
stood out about you playing the character Green Grande? Did you relate to him by any means?
You know what? That was an interesting one as well, because he was a small. It was a very small, kind of small role in the game, but it was the first time that character had ever spoken in any of the in any parts of the project where that character had existed. So to finally put voice to that character was really cool, and the team was excited to finally hear what the character would sound like. And so just getting a chance to be a part of that project in a way that helped everybody discover who that character was really cool.
That's very interesting to hear from you. Because all I know is that you being part of that movie was
Mm,
very awesome right there.
awesome.
Plus, I give props to Alex Von David, the current
Mm,
director of Dandadan, did a good job bringing you in there. Especially when you get to interact with a lot of people there, such
yeah,
as
exactly.
Stephanie, through
Mm,
Dorothy, through Lucian, everybody. It's
yep.
like, boy. What a whole world that you just brought yourself into.
Absolutely. Yep.
Indeed it is. Now then, your character, Ares in
Mm,
Record of Ragnaroks, must be a legendary character you got to play as, right? So let
yeah.
me ask you this. What made that role so special to you?
That is a really good question. That is a it's one of the larger roles that I've had the chance to play, where the character kind of got to grow and develop over the course of a couple of seasons and over a few episodes in a way that some of my other characters haven't. And to get a chance to kind of very slowly develop that character, if you've seen both seasons, he's very much in control and unflappable, and very much grounded in the first part of the series in the first season. And then as it progresses through, he starts to lose control. He has more outbursts and more breaks in his character, in the facade of the strength that he has. So kind of seeing that and having that opportunity at one point to have a full on breakdown and meltdown and scream, and lose control with that character was actually really cool, and it was a great journey to kind of see that character go from such strength to such, not weakness, but such point of not feeling that he was in control in certain scenarios, which was an interesting arc for the character.
That's very interesting to hear from you. Because all I know is that you being part of it as the god of war, like
Yep.
literally in the Greek mythology, was the
Yep.
very genius move. Plus, I give props to Megan and Michael for bringing you there, especially when your character gets to fight off with Hercules, being
Yeah.
voiced
Yeah.
by none other than George Newbern, which
Yeah.
is 10 times awesome right there. It's like
Yeah.
you look up to George Newbern as Superman that you literally get to fight him
Right.
yourself.
Right.
Like what a whole new aspect
Yep.
of acting to bring
Yeah.
in.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about you being part of it. But honestly, I do know this, that they're actually in development of a third season of the Record of Ragnarok.
That's great. I
And
would hope
that's
so. That's awesome.
and if they ever bring back the third season,
Yeah,
so should you.
I
That
hope so.
way,
Yeah,
that way you can finally just bring out the heat as the
right.
god of
Exactly.
war.
Exactly.
Exactly. Now then, your character, Gun and Hellfire Flame from One Punch Man must be
Yeah.
very cool characters to play as, right? So
Yeah.
what's your most favorite things about bringing those characters into the anime?
What's kind of cool about those is that they're unlike Ares and Record of Ragnarok, they're in for such a short period of time that you have a very limited amount of time and a window to make a choice about who those characters are and what they do and how they interact in that world. So getting the opportunity to go in and just do those instantly on the spot and have to make those instantaneous choices for characters that are going to only show up in very limited and very short time periods, but yet still give them enough background and enough personality and enough knowledge about who they are that they still are fully fleshed characters. And that's slightly different than something like Record of Ragnarok, where you have two full seasons to kind of develop and learn about this character. These ones you have a very short period of time that you have to learn and find out who they are and develop them.
That's very interesting to hear from you, because all I know is that One Punch Man, as I told you, was the
Yeah,
reason why I discovered anime, and that I
that's
told
great.
you I made a video for you about the characters and voice actors, and I
Yeah,
included you in there.
that's
But you know
great.
what else?
Is that
Turns out I made that video for one specific purpose. Because have I ever tell you that there is a third season of it coming by October, the month of my birthday,
Oh, that's
and
great.
that you're as I have learned from the
Yeah.
manga that your character Hellfire Flame will play a significant role there, and that without spoiling anything,
Yep.
you and Grant George will pretty much face off against Lex Lang pretty soon. And I
Wow.
can
Okay.
guarantee you that, and it will break the internet. Trust me,
All
you will
right.
eventually see it soon enough.
I'll keep an eye out for it. That's great. I can't
Indeed.
wait.
October, the month of my birthday, it'll
Awesome. Well,
come.
happy early birthday then. In about 6 months,
Of
5 months or
course,
so. Yeah.
of course you say that, and
Good.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Now then, your character, Daigo Dushama in Like a
Yep.
Dragon Infinite Wealth must have a unique presence, right? So what
Yes.
was the most coolest thing about bringing that character into the game?
That's good. So yeah, Daigo is an interesting character. He's been around for through the series for a while. Was voiced by a different voice actor earlier on in the series, and then I took over the role for the last 2 or 3 games. What's really interesting about this character is that a lot of this is takes place after, at least for me, the part that I really enjoyed was the fallout, the aftermath of this character and the other members being in isolation, being isolated, and kind of being um, trying to be somewhere in safety and recounting really this opportunity to recount the entire story of the game through one of the scenes that we had was really really interesting. It was a lot of fun to do, and it was a lot of fun to learn more as an actor about the story, but then also as a fan who's learning about the series to learn more about how the characters got to where they were and why they were in this, the specific positions and they were in and the issues they were having, which was really exciting. And then the opportunity to work with, not directly with, but with the other members of the cast that were in those scenes, and that scene was great. So
Interesting. So
yeah,
that's what you love about voicing that character there. Because
yeah,
all I know is that I did notice that your character was once played by Roger Craig Smith, known
Roger
as
Craig Smith.
Sonic, long
Yep,
before you took over, which I honestly
absolutely.
hope they do a voice comparison thing, because
Yeah.
I wanted yours to be on top notch there. That way everyone could just praise of what you're trying to do there. Because
Thank you.
hey,
No, I
that's what
appreciate
everybody
that.
do.
Yeah.
Plus, I give props to the directors who I got
Hmm.
to interview with like a
Oh,
few
great.
months ago, Keith
Yeah.
and Valerie Aram, for
Yeah.
bringing you into the project. And
Yeah.
that,
They're great. Keith and Val. They're great too.
yes.
Yeah.
And I did notice that you recently got yourself into that game as the character, which
Hmm.
is which is the pirate one with Matthew Mercer and
Oh
Josh
yes, yes, the
Caden.
new one, the new one. Yep, absolutely.
Matthew
Yep,
and Josh Caden is where you got to
yep,
interact with them there,
yep, absolutely.
which is super awesome to see.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Being part of Rurouni Kenshin 2023 version must have
Mhm.
been so cool, right? So what's the most thrilling thing about being part of that anime project?
That's again, this is one of those kind of one of the smaller roles that I come in and I get to do, an important part of this, but something that is small. And again, getting a chance to work with, with that cast and with those directors and with the opportunity to be um, in that recording space, which was really cool. I got to go to a new studio that I hadn't been to before, and to get to work with that and those people is always a really cool part of these projects.
That's very nice to hear from you. Because all I know is that I got to know about Rurouni Kenshin recently, and I
Yeah,
even got to meet some of the people there, including
great.
the cast voice director himself, Steve Staley, who has been literally looking a lot at my posts for almost in my Instagram for almost 4 years.
That's
And
great. Okay.
because because honestly, he really does want to work with me in the industry. So that's why I'm working hard to get there
Great.
and getting myself into that project when the time comes. But hey,
Yeah.
you being
Yeah.
part of Rurouni Kenshin was very good. And I honestly hope that one of these days they should bring you as a specific character,
Right.
one who has never been voiced by anyone, but you, my friend, deserve that. That
Oh, thank
way
you.
you can just be an important role in it.
Yeah, great. I'll just let's let them know. We'll let them know, and then we'll make it happen. Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly why I want to hear from you. That's what I like about you. But now then, your character, Darius from the game Elax, must be so cool, right? So what's so awesome about bringing that character to life?
That's a great question. This is an interesting one too. That Duras from Elix was the actually the very first video game that I got to do even before Ace Combat 7. I did the Elix before that. And it was the first kind of opportunity I had to work with a director over kind of the long term. We had multiple sessions, so it was an opportunity to kind of create and develop this character over the course of the game, which I had never had the opportunity to do. But it was a lot of fun, and it was a great first experience for a kind of a large character in a video game.
That's very nice to hear from you.
Yeah.
All I know is that Elax being
Mhm.
the first ever game was just a genius move right there. And
Yeah.
that's what led to some people just end up recognizing you and, well, getting
Hmm.
you into more projects, including that you just told me earlier,
Hmm.
and just many more that are yet to come.
Yeah.
The qu- So, yeah. And speaking of what you said earlier about Ace
Hmm.
Combat 7, I've got this question for you, but
Yeah.
what's so awesome when you got to be in Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown as the voice of Escoa's Longcaster, or just
Yeah.
Longcaster for short?
Yep, just Longcaster. I usually call him Longcaster. It's a really interesting one because it is a character that you never see. You don't know what he looks like. You don't know. You have an idea that he's a commander. He's an AWACS commander in there, um, and that not being able to see him or know what he looks like as an actor, I don't have anything to go off of other than what it is that he's saying and his purpose for being there. So it was very much of, I'm the flight commander. I'm there to make sure that people know, you know, guide them through the game and be a strong presence for those who are playing the game to kind of be grounded and be somebody in charge. And so to have that opportunity without seeing what the character looked like slightly changes the performance. If you don't know who this character is, you don't have a physicality, you don't know how tall they are, how big they are, how small they are. You have a lot of opportunity and freedom to play with those different parts of that character. One of the things with this character is that he's always eating. So there's always, at some point, I think I did the entire game with a piece of food in my hand. So everything I would record, I always had an apple or a piece of fruit or something that I was holding because the character throughout the entire game just eats through the entire game. So I was always just holding, always had something to hold with me that I was holding throughout the entire game to really kind of inform that character. So yeah,
That's very interesting to hear from you about. And
yeah,
honestly, I didn't even know you were eating during the recording until
yep,
you told me right now.
yeah, yeah,
So
yep,
I'm glad you ended up telling me. Because
yep.
hey, I got to know about Ace Combat 7 right there because of a certain someone I met 1 year ago by the name of Chris J. Alex, who I got to
Okay,
interview with, and
great.
very cool guy actually.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
and you being part of it was just the best choice that the director ever did. Just
It's
just
great to
gives you
hear.
a lot of more opportunities to get yourself out there into many more projects that needs to happen eventually.
Absolutely.
Well, that's very good to hear. Now, without further ado,
Mhm.
I'd like to ask you this. What's so amazing when you got to be the narrator in Evil Genius?
That is a that was this is interesting. These are some good questions because that was my first project as a narrator as well. That was right around the same time that I booked Elix. I booked this job as well, and it was the first time that I got to do a series like this. It was, I think there were eight or 12 episodes, and over the course of multiple weeks, got to go in and narrate these these shows about the most evil geniuses of crime in the 21st century, 20th century, the last 100 years. And it was a great learning experience, a great opportunity to get that experience in an entirely different genre and industry, part of the industry that I hadn't worked in before. And it was a great learning experience, and it was a great project to be a part of.
Well, that's very nice to hear from you, because all I know is that in the evil genius thing, you being part of the narration group is
Yep,
just something too special. But quite
it's great.
frankly, you should definitely get into more of the narrations like that. Like if
I would
the
love to. It's a great project. I love those types of projects. Yeah.
well, that's good to hear from you.
Yep.
Now, without further ado, I got two more questions due to the
Great.
time limit there, so I'll make
Sure.
this quick. But what's so awesome when you got to be in the game Spellforce 3, The Fallen God, as the voice of the DLC guide?
Yeah, that is an interesting one because I the not only was I the voice in in that, but I also got to direct part of the game as well. I was one of the directors on the game, so I directed it, and then also had the opportunity to play a character in it, which was really cool as well. So it was a lot of fun to be on both sides of that story because you get to learn, you learn a lot about the story, and then you get to play a character within that story too. It's actually really cool.
Wow. Didn't even notice that you were directing and acting at the same
Yep,
time until you told me. But
yep,
I'm glad you ended up telling me. Now I can gain absolute knowledge to just get things into set so that whenever I work with you, you as a director, I'll
yep.
just follow along and just go with the flow. But
Great,
hey,
perfect.
Spellforce 3, Fallen God, you
Yep,
just do a splendid job doing that kind of thing.
great.
Especially when you can interact with both John Eric Bentley through
Mhm.
Jason Vet Brook and
Yep.
pretty much a bunch of people like Jordan Reynolds and everybody.
Yeah, yep. It was a great cast to work with. Yeah,
Indeed. Now,
yep.
my last question to you is this, but for a lesson for anybody
Mhm.
who wants to be into voice acting, what kind of lesson would you like to give to them to help inspire them to keep pushing forward and just making sure they get themselves out there?
That is a tough one. There are many answers to that question. I would say that for anybody who wants to do this, remember that it is voice acting, and that like you're doing, you're working in theater and working in other areas of this, that the acting comes first, and creating compelling characters and creating believable storylines and believable backgrounds and knowing who these characters and these people are in these games, and in these projects is going to give you an advantage and will help you be the best actor that you can be, especially now when being a human actor is going to be extremely um, much more important than it used to be in the past. We have to be much more um, much stronger in our emotional choices, much stronger in our opinions and of the character and in the backgrounds of these characters, and fully know who these characters are and who you're playing when you get into a game or into a project. And that would be my advice. Voice actor, focus on the acting.
Well, I'm glad you say that, my friend. Just wanted to make sure everybody just feels inspired to do whatever it is they have in mind to just keep pushing forward and just get themselves into to just do a lot of great stuff. Sort of like how I'm doing, just
Absolutely,
finding a
yeah,
lot more opportunities and just getting connecting with a lot of people, especially you, Tim, so that
yeah.
I can be able to gain a lot of good knowledge to just get myself out there.
Great, great. Well, hopefully you learned a lot today. I appreciate having me on here.
Of course. Well, Tim, it's such an honor to finally meet you, and
Thank
and
you.
I'm glad to finally meet the president himself.
Thank you. It's a
Oh,
pleasure to meet you as well.
of course. There's one more thing before you go.
Yep,
This might be an interesting one that I'd
sure.
like for you to see, but when people look back on your work, how do you want to be remembered as a voice actor?
That is a great question. I think that I would like to be remembered as a that's a great question. I would like to be remembered as an advocate of voice acting, um, and an advocate for artists more so than the artist itself. I think that my goal is to help all of the other actors and artists who are in the industry become the best they can be, and that would be my legacy and what I would like to be seen as.
That's very interesting to hear from you. But you know what? There is something I'm going to do that when I do become a voice actor and when I get myself into projects,
Yep.
I'd be gladly to come help you get into more projects that you deserve to be part of. That way,
Thank you.
you can play specific characters like everybody else. Just
I
like how I
appreciate that.
told this to Michael Scott and
Yeah.
he accepted it.
Great.
So,
Well, I
yeah.
accept as well. I appreciate the help. I'm always happy to have help.
Then I'm glad you say that, Tim,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I connected to you.
Yeah, me as well. Thank you.
Well, Tim, it's such an honor to meeting you, and I just hope we see each other around through social media and through person when the time comes.
Absolutely. That we
Because
will.
hey, National Association of Voice Acting is there for me and everybody else.
It is absolutely.
Well then, I'll be seeing you through social media, my friend.
Sounds great. See you as well, my friend. All right, have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Want to keep up with my journey? Follow me on social media for more updates, behind the scenes moments, and all the fun along the way.